But the control room, it's only in this room because this office is built with a room. If we were to move into a different office, we could have this all in one room with a control room over here and a camera on it. So like,
that would actually be ideal.
It'd be kind of cool.
I'm glad you joined me. We're doing this a little different than normal. Our normal show, we have a guest and we just talk about something, talk about their life. So what we've done now is we've actually asked a few people to email us questions.
Okay.
And so what we'll do is very shortly we'll go to the email, pull up the questions, and have no idea what the questions are, and answer the questions in the best of our ability. And really, it's going to be very opinionated, because we're not going to have facts, more than likely.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
Why would we have facts?
Thoughts on dire wolves being made, and do you think that they can resurrect dinos? And do you think this is a good idea?
Okay, so there's a lot there. It's a great question. And these are user submitted, so like our viewers are submitting questions. That's fantastic. Thoughts on dire wolves?
And we've not seen these. I mean, just full transparency, we've not seen them. And I have just by a byproduct of.
You saw it 10 seconds before I did because you're holding the guy.
But also a byproduct of this topic is it's blowing up Facebook and everything right now.
Okay.
So like I've looked into it a little bit.
I got you. So I am 100% a fan of scientists making animals out of like found DNA. A funny story about this though, because everyone looks at this like the Jurassic Park thing. Michael Crichton would study what he wrote about. He wrote Jurassic Park, and he studied like the DNA sequencing for using other animals. So he found the mosquito that was stuck in the amber or stuck in the thing. The theory was it could be stuck in ice, could be stuck in amber, could be stuck in like any kind of substance that would have preserved it over a long period of time. You grab the DNA that it had just fed on, and that's where you get like the dino DNA, but it wouldn't be complete. You'd have to complete it with something else. And I think he used frogs or turtles or something in the story of Jurassic Park. They did something like that with the dire wolves where they said, hey, maybe this could work. And now technology has caught up with art and said, hey, maybe we can do this. And they made dire wolves, which I think is fantastic. Now, I don't know a lot about dire wolves other than like video games I've played. Like dire wolves are slightly more difficult to defeat than regular wolves. That's all I know. So I don't know exactly what that means for like the ecosystem. That's where I would want to figure that out. Like, is this going to be like a major problem down the road if we like release them to the wild? Maybe. I don't know. On one hand, I'm in favor of it. On the other hand, I think it should still be looked at like what are we doing to the ecosystems around here? Are we going to damage the ecosystem of a certain area to the point where it's so detrimental that certain crops won't grow, or certain animals that feed into other animals will die off, and then that other larger umbrella species goes extinct? I don't know. That's where I would have.
I'm just hoping we're not the umbrella species that goes extinct.
Well, that's a big problem.
It would be. Yeah. But so here's a little bit of more of the science behind it. It is not a true replication of the dire wolf DNA.
Okay.
Like they didn't put it in a petri dish, and it was spliced into gray wolf DNA. So they used a base compound, which was the gray wolf.
Okay.
Spliced in the dire wolf DNA and created a clone.
So did they like IVF a gray wolf?
Pretty much. Kind
of, and then the gray wolf gave birth to the dire wolf?
Which has the dire wolf genetics in the gray wolf. So it's a replication, not necessarily like a duplication. They replicated some of the characteristics from the DNA that they found into the dire wolf or the gray wolf DNA.
Okay.
Dire wolves were not massive. I always kind of like some of the stuff. I was like 6 foot tall wolves. They're bigger than gray wolves. There's
a species of wolf in Alaska that grows to like 200, 250 pounds. Big wolves. Are those great wolves? I don't know what they're called.
I'm not sure. It said on these they get like 175, 200 pounds.
The dire wolf does? Mm-hmm. Yeah, from my understanding, it's a different species of wolf, not some sort of massive wolf.
And I think it had like massive teeth, canines and stuff, because I'm sure the stuff that it was eating was tougher.
Its teeth were so big it couldn't eat, so it went extinct. And we've made that again, so now it's not going to be able to eat, and it's going to go extinct.
This is why people don't ask us questions.
Over. Yeah, right.
So, and do I think that? I mean, yeah. So, it's fantastic. One of my favorite shows. Everybody knows this is Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Love it. Right. Direwolves are the precursor for winter. Winter's coming. That's when the zombies come back. Okay.
You can effectively assume everything I know about Game of Thrones came from memes.
Well, you pretty much know the show.
Okay.
So I love it,
Okay.
And then they done a thing where actually, he was one of the funders for this project for Direwolves, the author of Game of Thrones.
What's his name?
Rollins.
R. Martin?
R.
George
Martins,
Martin? Yeah.
George R. So it is I think it's pretty awesome concept. Now, did I expect it to be a full little? Did I expect like whenever they come out in the headline was like we recreated I was expecting a lot. Like I kind of like when I started reading into the articles, I kind of expected it to be full from extracting the blood to the petri dish to the poof, But it made more sense.
I know what
how
you're
they
saying.
did it. I was kind of like true.
I haven't done a whole lot of research on it, so I was thinking the same thing. But they basically impregnated a gray wolf with modified DNA, something to that effect.
That's exactly right.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, you know how they went in and like for the COVID stuff, they modified the mRNA.
Is that one of our questions?
No, it's
too?
not.
Okay.
But
yes, I'm aware, sir.
Same concept, right? Like modify the DNA.
Right.
Do you think that they can resurrect dinosaurs?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if they have the DNA, they have the technology. Do I think scientifically? Yes. Biblically. Fundamentally biblically.
Okay.
I think is kind of the question to ask.
Should
we?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
It kind of
But I'm
goes,
crazy.
and do you think that it's a good idea to do so? No.
Yeah.
To bring back, do I want to see a dinosaur in real life? Yes. Do I think it's a good idea? No. In masses. Do I think that I am terrified of one single T-Rex?
Okay.
Yeah, wreak havoc.
This is why people don't ask us questions. Let me throw this wild scenario out there to you. This is the age of AI.
Sure.
We're at the baby steps, the footstep of the staircase of
Actually,
AI.
we had that conversation last week.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. Let's say we recreate dinosaurs using the help of AI.
Okay.
And the AI figures out how to make 10,000 T-Rexes, and it does.
So it does. AI doesn't have to create bodies
Yep.
for itself. It just needs to create something that makes us go extinct and then control what it created.
So the AI figures out how to put itself into the T-Rexes.
We actually might have made a movie.
I would do it. I would 100% do it.
Which part?
AI Jurassic Park.
Okay.
Jurassic
I will
Miami.
say you did use this as a precursor to this.
Yeah.
They made a movie about it. Science caught up to it.
That's true.
Okay. They made a movie about it. And the dinosaurs won.
That happens a lot where they'll make a movie about it and then it will happen. In the James Bond movie, I forget which one it's called. He goes underwater and pulls out this can and breathes the air from the can.
Got that now.
They made that. They were like, hey, that's a good idea. Maybe we could make
Star
a
Trek.
CO2 can.
They've used computers, right?
Yep.
Came from TV. Like they were like, that's a good idea.
If you look at
the Jetsons,
the second season of Star Trek from the 60s, Captain Kirk has something just like this. He's holding on to it and he's like doing stuff.
That's right.
It's an iPad, basically.
And then let's not even get into the conspiracies in The Simpsons.
Oh, yeah. No, we'll skip this. I hope that's not a question.
It's not. It
I don't
will
know
be
how
now.
I don't know how they do it. Yeah, so the next one of these.
Somebody will
like,
ask
hey,
us.
you mentioned The Simpsons, and on May 2nd, two guys were on podcast talking about something.
Well, that's like, I mean, that's how they did it. They pretty much guessed everything.
They have.
Guessed. Time travel. And do you think that it's a good idea? Okay, so we've got that one. So piggyback off this previous question. Oh, do you
Does not sound good.
Do you think that they have enough research and information to cure cancer, or is it just a money scheme?
Oh boy, my personal opinion. So I've got two opinions on this. Right away.
Let me
go ahead.
finish the question.
Go ahead. Sorry, I thought that was it.
How are they able to resurrect an extinct animal, but they're not able to cure cancer?
Oh, that's deep. That's deep. So we know they can cure cancer if you catch it early enough, right? People have survived cancer early enough to catch it. They can survive. I would also say that there's probably life-saving medical care that you need to get if you're at a certain stage of cancer, right? Does that make sense? So like if you have cancer in your stage 3, stage 4, and you hear the word metastatic or metastasis, that means it's gone to other organs, other parts of your body or your blood. It's a very scary place to be. We know chemotherapy attacks your entire body.
You kill cells.
Kills cells, right? Your body's made up of entire cells. So there does come a point in time where you need to take some aggressive action and go through some steps. Totally fine with that. However, I do believe cancer is a preventable disease. That's just my opinion. But it is based on some evidence of people who change their diet, particularly in America. The American diet is so bad and so toxic and so acidic, mostly, that we develop cancers, we develop heart diseases, we develop all these weird conditions that didn't exist. If you look up the list of medical conditions that existed 100 years ago, and I'm not talking 1800s, I'm talking 1920s, 1930s, right? They just didn't exist. Look at pictures of beaches in Florida from the 1970s even, don't have to go back very far, and compare those to beaches today. Everybody's 20 pounds fatter, at least, at minimum. The skinny people are 20 pounds fatter.
Yeah.
We didn't change. People didn't just all of a sudden start eating junk food. In the 70s, McDonald's existed. People enjoyed eating out all the time.
Like, it just wasn't processed food.
It was processed a lot differently, right? So you look at what the ingredients lists are even for burgers and fries.
There's 80 ingredients in a hamburger that it should have 3.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. So I think that leads to a lot of cancers. Yeah. I do. And then I think the treatment for those cancers is also inhibited by the diet and lifestyle. And I do also believe that modern medicine, I love my life, right? And my lifestyle. And by my lifestyle, I do enjoy like fast food breakfasts. Call me crazy, even though I think it's so bad for me. I do, but I love it. So like I get it. It's hard to break that habit. But at the same time, knowing that it's bad for you, at my age, I'm on the north side of 40 now. I've got to start thinking about this stuff. Like I should probably eat a healthier breakfast. I should probably eat better, make better choices. But in America, it's kind of difficult. Like in the U.S., our lifestyles are so fast. We tend to go and do a lot. Particularly you and I, we have full-time jobs. We do this podcast. We do the nonprofit. It takes a lot of our time, and so we end up eating out. But I think that combined with the fact that our modern medical practice would prefer to prescribe a pill for the symptom and not treat the root cause. I think that's a big problem in American medicine.
So my mother-in-law, she died of cancer. My grandfather died of cancer. And my grandfather, they found his pancreatic cancer or colon cancer, and they found it. And by the time they found it, it was stage 4. I mean, within 6 months, right?
Yeah.
Now, my mother-in-law, my wife could tell you the dates a little bit better, but I mean, it was years.
Yeah.
Multiple times come and gone. It's gone, it's back. It's gone, it's back. Right? And she ate fairly healthy. Like, I mean, she was out of the garden. I mean, she done good, but no real fast foods and stuff like that. Wow. I do think that there are people that are just predisposed. I mean, like your body's just... Everybody's got cancer cells. I mean, that's how cancer works. Every single person's got these cells, the makeup for cancer. Just whether those cells decide to replicate at a speed that your body cannot defend off, right? And so, and it eventually killed her. Seen that, do I think that necessarily every single person that gets cancer, I mean, it comes and me and you could have it.
Yeah.
Right now, that's the reality of it. Yeah. And you never know it. Do I see what scares me more? So the thought process for me, it's way more rampant than it ever was before.
Yeah.
Is it because now we can find it, know what it looks like? Or did people like they said, well, the Cherokee Indians never had cancer.
So that's an interesting point, right? Are we are we actually suffering from more cancer,
Yeah.
or are we just identifying?
Yeah. Is it just the root cause
Yeah.
now versus it was,
Yeah.
you just got sick and you died?
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah.
It's kind of, I was watching this Mysteries at the Museum. It's a TV show.
I know. I'm well aware.
So I was watching that, but there was the woman that got buried alive.
Okay.
They thought,
Don't know if I've seen that one.
well, she come down with an illness, went into a coma.
Okay, and they buried her.
Well,
Okay.
no breathing. She's dead. Buried her.
Yeah.
Okay. Then all of a sudden, everybody in that town started getting the same illness. They all started dying. So they figured out, let's just leave them for a while and they'll come back alive. Whatever the illness was, just slowed your body down enough where you looked dead. I mean, like they were literally, the depiction was them holding their nose. Like,
sure.
The husband freaked out.
What year are we talking about?
Oh, 18s.
1800s?
Yeah.
Okay. 19th century or something like that?
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
And so the husband freaked out, went over and dug her up. Her fingernails had been bloodied. And
so she's trying to get out or something?
Ripped the inside of the casket all to pieces. She was alive, buried alive.
So this is actually my wife's biggest fear. Anytime you see, there's a depiction of this in Kill Bill. Have you seen that movie?
No, I've never watched it.
She gets buried alive and she like punches her way out, which is highly impractical. Just the weight alone. You know what? Physics is not my friend sometimes. But she watches those and she still can't watch it. It's like it's a trauma for her. Like she can't watch the buried alive stuff. It's funny.
So, to that point is, science could definitely miss something. Like today, that would never happen.
Right.
Like we know for a fact you're dead or
Right.
you're not dead. The cancer part, I am to the point where medical stuff, everything that we do is a business.
Oh yeah.
It's huge money.
Oh, yeah.
Big pharma is real.
Yeah.
It's massive.
Yeah.
The amount of money that they take in. Multi-billion-dollar industry is cancer.
We can't even deny it.
No.
We cannot deny that fact. It's a business. It's designed to make money.
I think the mass majority of doctors and humans and people, to their knowledge, treat people to the best of their ability. Yes. The majority.
So what you're saying is at the individual level, doctors and nurses genuinely care about people and they want to do what's best for them.
And I think when they recommend something or they say something, to their knowledge, it's the most factual points that they know. If they say, hey, it's too late, they probably truly mean it. There's nothing they're hiding.
Yeah.
Well,
and doctors are trained to not cling to hope for no reason.
Yeah.
Right. So they don't want to just pretend. And I've got some examples in my own life where people they've died now, they've since passed. And I remember distinctly the family was like, well, they look so good, they're getting better. And I just remember thinking they're not getting better. Like we need a dose of honesty here that this is the end.
Yeah.
We're looking at the end of this person's life who I know that people love them, but this is the reality is that people die.
The hard part really isn't the person dying, it's everybody around. I mean,
yep.
The reality,
yep.
Right? Like that person can probably come to terms with it more than the people around them can.
Yeah.
It's just human nature. We cling to something. So, do I think that there's a group of humans out there that are in the world of big pharma, businessmen, women, companies that could very easily be manipulated by money and hold out certain knowledges or power? Sure. Absolutely. They do it all the time in the business sector. I mean, there's certain things that they come up with a new technology. Well, we're not going to push that technology because it would mess with the sales of our highest selling item.
Happened time and time again all throughout history.
So do I think that the majority of people are like, no, I do not. Do I think that our healthcare system is absolutely ferocious and broken?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Do I think our insurance system is the worst in the world? It is very, very high up there.
Now, our insurance system is one of the biggest problems, right?
It is.
It's the go-between between medical care and the patient, right? If you think about it, it's people in suits making money off sick people. Or
people that have no idea about medicine or health either.
Right. They're insurance people, which is insurance is based on something called the law of large numbers, which genuinely works, where you pay a little bit and you get the service, but it's a go-between between the service and the patient. And I've heard such horror stories, and this is where trust starts to erode, where the horror story is that the insurance company has an approval or denial rate. Okay, they have to approve a certain amount of care for people. Well, they will approve care, but the copay is like $300,000. So there's no way the patient can meet that copay.
Yeah.
But they still approved it. Insurance is doing their job, and so it's like, wait a second, that's pretty bad. But again, at the individual level, I do believe insurance people are still trying to do their best. I do, but the jobs are so segregated that they've got claims adjusters, they've got approvers, they've got salespeople, it's like anything else.
They've got a sheet that they're reading off
Yep.
of. So, and that's part of the problem. And so I've got doctors friends that's told me, they file something to the insurance company. The insurance company says, hey, we're not going to pay that until you do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
The doctor medically understands that X, Y, and Z is not going to do a hill of beans for the condition. But we've got to wait 6 months to actually fix the condition so we can fulfill all the insurance requirements.
Yep.
Or this person has to pay it out of pocket to do it now.
Right. Exactly.
It's huge issues.
Yeah.
I do know there's other doctors that are doing like subscription services.
That's an interesting concept.
So it's like $50-$60 a month. You get one doctor's visit and they prescribe you medicine, compounding and stuff like that. Do I think that is okay for the everyday life? Yes. The problem comes casualty, large heart attack, stuff of that nature. That doctor can't
emergency
do
care.
that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Like
that actually might be the future. Is instead of insurance, you just pay the subscription.
Yeah, well, there's actually a doctor right here in town that's doing that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's community healthcare. I think is what they're calling it.
And I also think our society is on pace to agree with that too. I mean, look at all the subscriptions we have anyway.
Yeah.
It's kind of the lifestyle.
It may be the next medical thing. I think insurance companies will fight against that pretty hard.
Or they become the arbiter of that service.
They just evolve into it. So do I think that we have cures for cancer that are out there that we've not pushed? Yes.
Yeah.
I do think that they have found stuff. Now, okay, remember, healthcare system is broke entirely. Could it be that a doctor somewhere has found a breakthrough for cancer and has published it in all his journals and done all his stuff, and then the FDA says, no, we can't push that for cancer because of this.
Yeah.
And then they have to go back and do another 3-year trial to see if it does this. So do I think that stuff like that exists? Yes.
It's happened before.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. The doctor in the UK, this is a true story. He linked vaccination shots to autism. And it was published in there's a medical journal, the Lancet. Maybe it was the Lancet. He gets published in the Lancet as a credible source for this information. The Lancet retracts his story, and it kind of forces him to retire from this line of work, where he basically had drawn a correlation, not proof, but a correlation between the vaccination shots and the kids getting autism. And they retract his story. You can look all this up. This is factual information. And then he had to close his practice after they retract his published article, because he was no longer a credible doctor talking about his work. And so that does happen.
Yeah.
Again, for various reasons, but it does happen.
See, and that's the other part of it too, is like here in the States, we have lobbyists.
Oh, yeah.
We have like a medical company or a pharmaceutical company can pay big money to push whatever their direction is.
Yeah.
And that's real.
Right.
I mean, this happens. So do I think that there's a place for some of this? It probably is. I mean, it's marketing, it's information. Do I think that it's the fix? No. So, yeah, I mean, I think that that's kind of the funny thing is like you kind of correlate, the more you think about these, you correlate these two together. Like they manipulated DNA on the wolves. And what is cancer? It's cells,
DNA?
Which is DNA. So could they, I mean, they can do blood tests and basically tell you, hey, you've got signs of cancer, so they know this, what it's there. So can they manipulate that to not have cancer?
Or the AI can go in and manipulate it for us.
There it is again.
There it is again.
Well, I mean, but you think about that. You put it, if you prompt it right, it probably could tell you a lot of information.
Yeah.
I mean, it couldn't think on its own, but it could tell you the
No,
information.
and it would have to learn all of this somehow. So
Yeah.
they'd have to the people who know genetics would have to program the AI also. So that would be pretty laborious once.
Yeah.
And then once the language model knows it, then it can
Still probably closer than what we think.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to another question or another emailer.
Okay.
Inbox. Okay. Public and private partnerships. How do businesses and NGOs or nonprofits work together and work with communities to provide shelter, food, and logistics?
Open, just shelter, food, logistics for.
Yeah, I mean, just
okay,
like general, I would say just general community needs or world needs or just needs in general.
Okay,
We'll
sure.
just call it that.
Yeah.
So public and private. So how do, let's say like a large corporation tie in with like a private partnership like us?
So we've got some experience here.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing this nonprofit for 6 months now.
Yeah,
that far?
yeah, 6 months.
Yeah, okay. Learned a lot. I come from the corporate world, so I know that structure real well, and I know how important it is to sell the product. Something that I've also learned is that the NGO or the nonprofit sector doesn't always mean not selling anything either. So that at the mission, we could sell something.
Yeah, a service.
For a fundraising, we could sell a product, we could do a service.
So we could work on the corporate side via that way, right?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. If we sold, let's just pull an example out of nowhere, like coffee, for example. If we sold coffee, we could get our coffee into Starbucks. So like Starbucks Source could sell our coffee and mention that we're benefiting this NGO, this nonprofit that benefits. We're not in this lane for like homeless care, but if we were, that might be an idea. And then people could buy our coffee from a retailer. And that's a fantastic partnership.
Right, and the way that works is all the profits from that sale goes to fund the mission, the organization in general. So this is where a lot of people think that, in general, I've done the same thing. It's like you look at the overall structure of, let's say, Red Cross, or one of the bigger ones. They have a very high operation cost.
Yeah,
right? I've not looked into it. I don't know. Let's say their CEO, it's not CEOs, their directors make $150,000, and then their executive director makes $500. Okay, I'd say it's more than that. As big as Red Cross is. I think that a lot of times people look at those and like, well, this is a nonprofit. Why are they making that kind of money or something like that? Which, again, I look at some people in the corporate world, in the private sector, and say, why in the world are they making that kind of money? They're useless.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, I mean, either way you do it, you have the same outlook.
Yep, absolutely.
I do think it does give a little bit more of a dirty taste when you look at like nonprofits naturally, and you just say, you look at them, oh, they're making $500,000. That's crazy. Which I think a lot of times we don't necessarily, I didn't, before I started this, realize the sheer amount of work and business setup in a nonprofit. This is looked at as a corporation.
Oh, yeah.
It's structured as a corporation. It is a business, and it is a ton of work.
This is just as much, if not more work, than a for-profit venture. If we had started this as a for-profit venture, we'd be focused on one thing, and that's sales.
Yeah.
But because it's a nonprofit, we're focused on 10 things, right? I mean, you felt that too, right? So where we don't have a product that we're trying to sell, we have a service that we provide that we try and sell in terms of grants and donations. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we try to provide what it looks like is we try to rely and push heavily. Hey, you're a corporate, you're a public company.
Yeah.
Okay. Some of our partners are a construction company.
Yep.
Here, right?
Yep.
Here, you want to do good. Let us be your hands and feet.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's kind of how that partnership looks like.
Yeah.
Our service, the service that we try to sell to afford to be able to move forward sustainability, is good things for the community.
Yeah.
Whatever that might look like.
Right.
I mean, there's people that their whole nonprofit is structured around owning a piece of property that people and organizations can use.
Yeah.
Okay, you rent that property.
Yep.
But their community service is to give you a discounted place with high value buildings, barns, bathrooms, whatever that they offer for community resource. Okay, that's one way. On the other side of things, you've got organizations out here that do absolutely nothing other than just go out and help a person that needs something on the street.
That's right.
Like their whole mission is literally just to help the homeless.
Which is there are a lot of homeless people think nonprofit, they think homeless support.
Yeah,
typically.
sure. I mean, food, shelter, those kinds of questions.
But remember, all the sporting companies, NFL, NBA, they're all nonprofits, right? Which just means the corporate structure of that entity is designed to take in what it spends.
It doesn't,
and that's it.
They don't
go for profit.
The structure. What I tell people too: a nonprofit. The ultimate goal of a nonprofit is not to have a bankroll that's sitting there that's massive.
Right.
I don't want a savings account that is absolutely out of this world.
Right.
Right. Like
we don't
out of
need
a nonprofit. That's not the goal. The nonprofit is that we get money coming in.
Yep.
We spend money.
That's right.
On the community. You know, like in the future, we're hoping to do more like agriculture centralized classes.
Yeah.
Stuff of that nature. Now, what that looks like is it takes money to have a building. It takes money to have the class. Mm-hmm. So that's where you try to rely heavily on the private sector.
That's right.
You know, it's like this podcast. It takes money to upkeep the equipment. There's stuff that you have to buy to be able to do this.
That's right.
What we hope that this does, it's a community piece. It's a resource.
Yeah.
Okay, you need to know that the organization down the road is rebuilding houses during the flood. Who is that person? Oh, the community nonprofit has all their people here. Listen to them for an hour, and you can know who you want to donate to.
That's right.
Right, like that is a community resource.
That's right.
So it's the hardest thing I think generalized in nonprofit world, and we've seen it here.
Do I get to guess, or are you going to tell me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the hardest thing in the nonprofit world
for people,
I think in general, I think it's people's perception, how they view the nonprofit, and the fact that we are a nonprofit, other nonprofits are nonprofit. I think that perception creates the hardest hurdle to overcome, and that's everyone has kind of grown suspicious of nonprofits. For me, that's the hardest thing to deal with.
I think for some good reason.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really nasty human beings out there using nonprofit as a way to leverage money or whatever. So, but I think the hardest part is kind of in line with you. It's perception, but it's perception on the work that you do. Yeah. It's almost like you have I think people generalize like the nonprofit, they help the homeless. Yep. Okay? That's their job.
Yep.
I don't think people realize how many unknowns. Like there's not a structured plan that you can Google, how do you help the homeless?
Right.
You know, like I can't get from point A to point B on Google. I don't know.
Right.
You know?
We've made up a lot as we go.
Yeah.
I don't know if people realize that or not. And from talking to people, they'll tell us things, and they're so gracious. They're so nice to us. Right? You guys, the mission, you guys got it all together. You guys really got this figured out. I'm like, no, we're kind of...
We're learning.
We're figuring out as we go, and we learn as we go. And I think with us, what people see is that we take a dedicated step.
Yeah.
Here's what we think we should do, and so we're going to take that dedicated step and try something. And if it works, we'll see this. If it doesn't work, we'll see this, and we'll just make a move. If we don't have success,
it's kind of like this chart that never ends.
Yep.
You know those yes/no charts.
Yeah.
Okay, do this.
Yep.
Did it work? Did it not?
Yep.
Okay, if it worked, okay, cool. That's the direction we need to go right now. But see, that's the thing is like flood recovery. That's kind of where we've been.
Yep.
Okay.
It's the biggest need.
The reality of it, flood recovery is going to end.
It is.
Okay. Praise God that the flood recovery is going to end. That I've told everybody from the very beginning, our goal should be to work ourselves out of the job.
That's right.
In flood recovery.
That's right.
So what's next? What do you do next? The next thing's the next thing.
Yep.
Right? Like being able to be fluid and just help where it's needed. We've said from the very beginning is that we want to fill the gap.
That's right.
That is something that a lot of corporations can't do.
Well, and they have to specialize so heavily. I mean, you think about a company like, let's just say Apple. I worked for Apple for 12 years. Like I know it very well. Apple has, it's a company of, say, 30,000 employees in the U.S. alone, roughly. They make 5 things. So it's a very risky business proposition to start factioning off your business into various subdomains, if you will. So Apple knows its lane. They stay in their lane and they make the 5 products. For a company as big and well-known as Apple, it wouldn't make sense to start their own nonprofit or their own wing of the business.
Right. And most of them do foundations.
They do.
Which is a way to dump money into to be a
right.
to for philanthropy
right.
that they can give out to the community. Right.
And we would apply for that
right.
money as a nonprofit, and they would give it to us.
Right.
And, so,
we do fill out applications for grants.
Yeah.
That grant goes to Kroger.
Yep.
We got denied for Kroger.
Got denied.
Okay. Kroger was, I think what we applied for $5,000 or something like that. We applied for that grant.
Yeah.
Okay. They sent us back and said, hey, what you're doing is great. It's not where we want to be. We want to be environmentally focused or something.
That's right. Their mission was to fight climate change with their nonprofit donations.
Our stuff was not climate change in that category, so we got denied. Other ones we've won, or we've got granted. That's how companies give back. Now they've had work days, we've had interviews with companies, and they
work days.
But a company, a corporation, that's the biggest partnership. That's how they work. NGOs though are a little different than nonprofits. NGOs, on the grand scheme of things, most of them are international. They're overseas.
Yeah.
They're having a large impact internationally.
I guess the biggest NGO, probably the biggest 2 categories of NGOs are with immigration to various countries. Maybe not just the U.S., but there's a big NGO that will take immigrants who say what you want about immigrants, but they'll claim asylum, like political asylum. And there are NGOs that will work with them on the process to get them citizenship in the U.S.
Is it? Like Greenpeace and like those the anti-whaling and all that, where they go out and these guys are basically military people without guns on a ship fighting China's whaling process.
That's right. Exactly right.
That's an NGO.
That's an NGO.
So they need large amounts of money to fund that operation.
Yeah.
A company, let's say Kroger, don't know if Kroger does that, would say
sure.
$5,000. That's where we're sending our money,
right?
Because they're fighting something environmental, like they're actually doing something for the environment.
Absolutely. If you watch Shark Week,
a
lot of those people out there doing the research or they're getting grant funded.
Right.
As I don't know if that would be like an NGO, but a lot of those science-based ones that are international would fall into that category as well. And so you're watching them. Wouldn't that be a cool job to go to South Africa and look at sharks for 6 weeks? Well, they got grant funded for that, and so they're able to do that.
Well, so, speaking of that, did you see where that pastor out of Maryville got kidnapped?
No.
He's a church planner in South Africa.
So he's from Maryville and he went to South Africa. Oh, whoa.
He took his family and they're church planning in South Africa, so he's a missionary.
During this now? Oh, boy.
This week.
Oh, that's tough.
And so he was there. They come into the church, stole everything, took him at gunpoint. Now they're holding hostage for ransom. There's an NGO helping get him back.
Yes. Yeah. So trafficking was the other category I was going to bring up. Is that's
so they like, and when I say NGO, like people are like, oh, they're going in there friendly. No,
a lot of them military guys
right.
use their skills and expertise, and
there's a lot of governments that don't have the resources and the knowledge that our ex-military guys have, so they form these organizations or work under organizations or even work as private contractors. But it's all kind of one and the same. They go over and help somebody that's in need. There's
also kind of the dark side of this too, where governments can't violate certain treaties and go do things, but they're not a government organization. NGO is a non-government organization. That's what that stands for. And so they have some resources sometimes that are funded by other groups. And they've got just the same skills and expertise, and they go in and go grab the guy and move on.
It's not all, So there's a lot of that stuff, and they are companies, and that's kind of the other thing too, is the private sector and private corporate sector, right? And what we do, nonprofits. There's also lines that these private sectors can't cross.
Right.
So because of the IRS and taxes, it looks fishy. private company owns a nonprofit. They basically fund the nonprofit, pay people to do this work of the nonprofit. Yeah, right. Like you can go and say, well, that how it sees. So they find somebody. So one of the largest ones here in this area is Eastman Chemical Company.
Yep.
Right? As far as a company here locally, they give all their money to United Way. That's their person that they pick to give the money to corporately. Right?
And they take their hands off so it doesn't look super
They trust
fishy.
United Way to steward that money, and United Way divvies it out into certain categories. So that's how it works.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. This is one that we can actually talk on directly out of our experience. Digital tools in crisis. Using apps, social media, text messages for real-time updates, resources, and coordination for natural disaster and aid.
So we can talk about a big problem that we had after the hurricane came in our area, western North Carolina and eastern Tennessee. Yeah. We would see Facebook posts, and Facebook was probably the predominant tool people used. It was really. I mean, no one used the other socials, Instagram, X, Twitter, any other ones. In the masses, we would get Facebook posts. It was very reliable. So someone could post on Facebook, "Hey, I need this thing," and I remember this day vividly. We had a request for 60 5-gallon buckets. Okay. 10 different people went to Lowe's to get buckets. Yeah. Lowe's freely handed out the buckets to the first person that showed up. Yep. We need 60 buckets. You guys got it. You're doing hurricane work. Go for it.
Corporately, the way that worked is they had a lot. They gave, I think here locally, they gave 3 Lowe's corporate money to spend on disaster recovery.
Oh, cool.
So, like, I knew one of the store managers that was right on the outside of that.
They had a budget for it.
I texted him, said, "Hey, can you get me this? No, we don't have that budget. Let me call this store."
Okay.
So they knew the disaster happened. They said, "Hey, you're the closest ones to it. Here's the money."
That's very cool. But in this case, 10 people went to get buckets. So had we properly used digital communication, we would have sent one person to go instead of, because people wanted to help. And that was something that was so unique, I think, in our area, is that we had people that wanted to help and that also had the means to help the moment that it happened. In East Tennessee, we had a bridge and 2 roads cleared the day of the storm.
That night,
because people just had tractors on their property and said, I can just move this stuff out the way and we can get on the road. And that people don't realize how the lack of transportation can impact a community in the aftermath of a disaster.
Well, and I want to give credit on that while we're talking about it to the Mennonite community.
Okay.
They were one of the largest ones that was at these certain bridges. I mean, just absolutely. And they did not get the credit they deserved after the storm. Absolutely incredible job.
I didn't know that. 6 months later, I didn't even know that part.
The news wouldn't. I mean, it's not that they wouldn't. They just didn't.
Right.
And it was incredible to witness. But okay, so being there firsthand after disaster, to paint the picture, we're East Tennessee. The river cut through on one side of the river. Let's call that like mainland, right?
Okay.
The other side is mountain, bottom, river.
Yep.
Okay, one way in. You can't go across the mountain. You're going from mainland, across the river to the area. Those bridges and roads were took out. Okay.
Yeah, so just so everybody knows, we had 4 bridges that would get us across this giant river. 3 of them were completely destroyed.
Or roads that led to a bridge.
Yeah.
The bridge might have not been took out, but the road going to the bridge was removed.
We lost 3 out of 4, right? Yeah. But 1 bridge survived, or did we lose 2 out of 4?
No, we lost 3.
Yeah.
Here, and then the other one was in Greenville.
Yeah.
So coming up the road.
And for a while, we didn't know if the tall bridge would survive
because of the road. We couldn't get to it.
So they closed that, and that's open now.
Yes.
What's that bridge called?
I forget. So that one that goes across the bridge.
I forget the name of that. It's real tall.
It's the biggest one.
I'll think of it. It ends up surviving.
Right.
But the road, River Road, it was River Road, right?
Arnold Road was the one here. Okay. And so that 81 South was the highway. That's the one that went along the river that goes across that big bridge.
And half that was
right. So this one goes this way, and then Arnold Road here, and then you got the bridge.
Yeah.
Right. These 2 roads are gone.
Completely gone. Yeah. People understand there was
nothing.
A dump that got wiped out. I mean, it was horrible.
I mean, there was land, road, rock.
Yeah.
Now there's just rock. It
Now there's
washed
just
all the
rock,
land and
yeah.
everything away.
It's so bad. And so during this time,
Yeah.
we realized that having access to a bridge literally meant life and death for a lot of people that were on the other side
Sure.
of the river. They were completely cut off. For a couple of days, we had helicopters going back and forth. I wasn't there with the helicopters. You were,
Yeah.
right? You were, yeah. And so a lot of people knew of them, but I don't think we had a communication system in place. I don't think we didn't.
We didn't.
We didn't have a
We didn't have
communication. And now we're thinking as our mission to have a set of if we had 20 walkie-talkies that always worked.
If we just had CBs.
CBs
right?
would have changed.
Just simple,
Yep.
the fact that we have CBs that we could have communicated, it would have changed night and day.
Done.
Like, so the way that worked is we had all this work, all this disaster, went crazy, didn't know what to do. None of us knew what to do. We had access across a bridge. We had 3 hubs, basically. One that we were running at Cherry Grove, the Jackson Bridge, and then New Salem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
We had those 3 main hubs that we were running on the river side. Then they had the schools and that kind of stuff that the county was getting supplies, Red Cross.
Yeah.
That's where the helicopters were coming in and out.
Yeah. Yep.
We couldn't communicate from hub to hub to hub.
Right.
That
Right.
simple fact, if we had 3 sets of CBs and 3 sets of radios that we could have communicated between those 3, it would have changed everything. What I think ended up happening now, after the fact, maybe in a year, we'll sit down and actually study this stuff and come up with this is what we need to fix.
Yeah.
Hopefully, and we've talked about that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of it, like let's say a week after, right, what we ended up doing was running the same pallet of water between the 3.
Yeah.
You know, like it
That
was,
happened.
you know, like I really truly believe what we were doing. We were putting it on Facebook. That's how communication was happening. Facebook posts.
That's right.
Certain people like mine and a few others, they were watching our Facebook post. They need this here.
Yeah.
Okay. What ended up happening, that's a mass communication. You had 42 people
42
watching that,
people.
picking up the same pallet of water at 3 different
That's
places. Right. And now what ended up happening? We had all the water.
Yep.
And these other 2 didn't have water.
Yep. And just for a time frame here, the mission wasn't even the mission.
No, we didn't exist.
For a month. So
Yeah.
we worked for a month.
Yep.
I mean, you were out there every day.
Yep.
I was out there every weekend for a while. Well, actually, we worked pretty much every weekend since different capacities. I mean, so we found the warehouse building. We used it for supplies. And once we had a central location, changed a whole lot of things, right? So we were able to then say, we don't need water. We're good. We don't need clothing. We have enough clothing. No one's taking it. And that, I think, even just that level of communication. And we spun up our Facebook group real quick. We didn't even have that. So people couldn't even reach out. So I think there were a lot of things that we learned. And there were just some, like you said, fill the gaps. We had a lot of gaps that the gaps weren't created by the hurricane. The gaps were exposed
They were
during
shown.
the hurricane. Yeah.
The other one was the negativity.
Oh, man.
It spread like instant wildfire.
Yep.
Okay. For instance, they were coming in. We had all these different places, these hubs, and then Red Cross, which is the largest one, right, that come in from outside prior to FEMA. They would come in, and then all of a sudden, all these things started going out. And it was like Red Cross is coming in and taking all of the supplies.
Yeah.
They're hoarding it up, and they were taking. Now, some of this was true. They were shutting down. They were trying to become that. Now that I've been talking to them on the backside and understanding what was happening, they were trying to centralize all of that.
Yeah.
So that miscommunication didn't happen and give it one central location. So that way, a simple text message, now that we had service, had Verizon trucks, could go to a certain person and say, okay, they do need water, send a truck.
Right.
And they were doing it semi-trucks at a time.
Right.
Load it up, take the whole thing. They were trying to do that. Now, the Facebook post that was going out was Red Cross is coming in, they're taking over, they're sending everything away, they don't. Right? And then so I made a Facebook post. I saw Red Cross with a van at one of the hubs as I was taking supplies at one of the hubs and was unloading supplies out of the van
into the hub. Yeah, to like donate to it.
So I took the picture. I just remember it was I remember this Facebook message is why I say this. I took the picture and I was like, hey guys, just be aware they're not taking things, they're giving it out. It's like I took the picture of the van, I should have done a video. But I took the picture almost instantly, I got a Facebook message and was like, what it was a person from that hub misread my Facebook message and said I thought I was inciting part of the nonsense of all this and was like, just get your, and they cuss me. Just get your facts.
You had foul language. They were swearing at you.
Just get your facts straight. They're not taking anything. They're giving it out. Go back and read the post. I said they're giving it out. Yeah. So it was stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, there were 5 or 6 people there that person talked to that thought that I said
so now you're
taking. So I'm inciting it, which in reality I wasn't. And then they called me and was like, oh, I'm sorry.
Now,
right, like that's how Facebook works.
Now this happened quite a bit.
Yes.
Where people would misunderstand something. Right. And even within our organization, people thought we absorbed other organizations or we got bought out. I heard that once before too. I heard we were a church. All kinds of people we didn't even know came to us and we had beef with somebody else. I'm like, we don't even who.
Like we don't even know anything about it. We had a guy. Part of that was we had a guy that I think's doing some shady stuff in a whole nother area.
That's true.
So like we became established. We become well known. We become a hub. Right. And then there was a guy somewhere else that was trying to manipulate other resources. Right. Like there's been organizations that's used other organizations' tax number to go get stuff. Yep. Basically, he was telling everybody that he was the pastor at 72 of the mission.
And we had to do some damage control. I think we made an announcement like we don't have a pastor, we're not a church. Don't give money to anybody who doesn't look like us. Right? Like we are the 2 authorized to accept donations. And
it was unreal. Like Facebook. Facebook was the main reason we succeeded. Not we, but the flood recovery and the initial main reason. It also was one of the main reasons there was problems.
It was a challenge.
It's impressive, the power.
Yeah.
And then they started getting the Verizon towers and the Verizon trucks and all that stuff started really having huge impacts. But not having cell phone service changed my thought. I am not a prepper. Okay? Like mentally, I'm not a doomsday prepper. I'm not there yet. Even after this disaster, I do see the reason of having some supplies and having some communication.
You know why I'm not a prepper? I'm with you. I agree. I'm not a prepper. I do like to be prepared. I was a Boy Scout. I was a good Boy Scout. Be prepared, right? But the prepping, I've learned that we've got enough.
Yeah.
We've got an organization still trying to give away the water.
Yeah.
So much water was donated. People don't realize bottled water does go bad. It is not in the water cycle, doesn't get filtered. It's stuck in a bottle and it will go bad. So you have to have a means of distribution. And there was so much water donated. We thought people were going to not have water forever. And that was it. They're going to live on bottled water.
Like you didn't know what was going to happen, right?
And so I've learned that people have plenty of stuff. We've got enough going on. And I reminded a lot of people, people on the other side of the river lost power, lost water. And I reminded lots of people, we've done this before as a society. We've lived without electricity and without plumbing. Wasn't that long ago. Like these are modern amenities that we have. We've just gotten used to it. We can and we will survive. We'll make it work. That being said, having some cache of our own comforts is probably not a bad idea.
Yeah, and I think too, where we want to come in is there's these 2 sides of things, right? Preparedness and the reaction, right?
Yes.
Like after the disaster. Yep. We want to be in that preparedness lane.
Yeah.
Not prepper lane.
That's right.
Preparedness. Have the knowledge to grow your own vegetables. Have the knowledge to grow your own thing. Have the knowledge on how to hook up a generator to your house.
It was pretty eye-opening. What did we hear? Nobody knew how to tarp a house.
Yeah.
No one knew how to rescue, not nobody. What I mean is general, the masses didn't know how to rescue anybody from a car.
Yeah.
We didn't know how to, certainly nobody knew how to rescue somebody from a flash flood. I still don't. I mean, it happens so fast that that's probably not a skill we're going to have. But what do you do in the event of a flood? How do you recover the land after river silt
the
floods
soil
the land?
testing, the
soil
dirt
testing.
Okay, what happens to the economy after a disaster? Right? Like the local economy. How do you resurrect it? How do you control it? Like all this stuff that's the lane.
Yeah. I think we're the only organization that's helped businesses.
Yeah.
I think we're the only one that's bothered to say, hey, if we get a business back on its feet, that helps 10 people.
No, I mean, I'm sure there's others out there. I mean, I'm just grand scheme of things.
You're right. We're probably not the only one who's
We're
helped
the
the
one
business.
that we know.
Yeah.
And that specifically is trying to make sure that businesses are actively getting back out there and getting on their feet, trying to.
Yeah.
Because we understand the impact that will have on the economy. Me being in real estate, construction, that side of things, I understand the implications that this stuff has on the economy. Now, all the new houses that are being built changes what home values are.
Yeah.
There's good and bad. It washed a lot of homes out. It killed a lot of property. Also, in the other side of things, that we're seeing all these new homes being built that are worth more money than might have been what was there before. Not worth more memories, but more dollar value because it's new.
So the impact here for your mind is that it's going to drive up the real estate cost because the new home is potentially worth more than the old home.
It could. I mean, once the land regains its value.
Okay. I hadn't considered that.
Now, what's the other side of that? Do people want to live on the river now? Okay.
I don't. Yeah.
Right. How does that impact the And so, like, what people don't understand, or not people, but what people probably aren't thinking through fully, the disaster. Let's rebuild a house. That's fantastic. What happened to that guy's retirement that he is betting his whole life on, and selling that 100-acre farm with his house that now might not, because we don't know, might not be worth the money that it was because that was his retirement. Now he has to work 5 more years and he's 70.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Like, all of a sudden now he probably needs resources and help or financial aid to do that for another 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I mean, it can be devastating.
It's changing.
Yeah.
It changes everything, and that's why it's so fluid. And that's why a lot of people aren't necessarily able to do that, because a lot of people aren't able to be fluid. Now, I'm not hitting on anybody. Right. It's just the reality of it. There's certain people out there that have that ability.
But that's literally why we exist, right?
Yeah.
That's a gap.
Right.
And we want to be the resource for
people. And it might be like that farmer, we find that farmer, he needs a gap, we put it out there and people support him.
Right. Right.
That is the gap.
Absolutely.
Okay. We talked about this a little bit, but where does 72 the mission come from?
Oh, the name.
The name.
The name.
Yeah.
So this is where Jesus sends out the 72. That we don't know their names. Luke 10. Yeah, to clarify. Luke, it's like the first few verses in Luke 10, not the whole chapter, where Jesus sends out 72 servants and says, go 2 by 2 and basically go help people. And that's kind of what we thought of now the other part about this, when we started this, we had a lot more people helping us. They kind of fall away, various reasons. Probably the biggest thing that happens is people that want to help during a natural disaster. Everyone kind of has their own vision of what that help looks like.
Or they've got a time period that they can help.
Or they've got a time period. But a lot of times people, they either fulfill that vision. We saw that happen a lot where they kind of felt like they were finished.
Yeah.
Cool. And that's a fantastic thing. But then we had a few people who felt like what they wanted to see happen wasn't able to happen, and they kind of got frustrated and they fell off that way too. That happens. We've seen a lot of different reasons.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Not everything is going to be the perfect fit for everybody.
Yeah.
So, and that's like how me works. How I work. How I work. I can't necessarily, because of the way that my mind, we're all wound differently.
Yep.
Right. I have a certain ability to do certain things. And a lot of times that's either vision or the ideas, or that I don't necessarily always have the best way to implement things. ADD, ADHD is a huge proponent in that. I can get there, I can get you the idea, I can think this thing through, I can see all the avenues, can't necessarily ever finish it.
Yep.
So then we bring people, partners with like you and other people. You're that person that can kind of help bring up the backside of idea. A lot of times you have somebody that maybe only wants to be the back end and can't be the front end.
Right.
And with this the way that these things work is you kind of have to have both working in tandem.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely,
you have to be able to be super fluid and then also super proficient and efficient at closing everything that you start.
And having that flexibility turns out is more rare than I thought at the start of this thing, where the answer to a lot of questions back in October was, I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Still don't know.
Still don't know.
We're still figuring it out.
I mean, there's
I don't know what the next stage will look like because we've never been in the next stage.
Right.
Like we're figuring out. Now there's people that do this type of stuff for a living.
Yeah.
Like the EMA direction and stuff. That's their whole, They see it, but we don't as an organization.
Right.
There's some change that comes. So Luke 10, that's the whole
premise.
idea is that we literally go out into the houses and we help people.
And we want to be servants.
Yeah.
And we don't need a whole lot of credit, which is kind of a conflating point here, because we do try and advertise for ourselves quite a bit, because we don't need credit so much as we need funding.
Yeah.
And that takes...
you need funding, and you need prayer support. You need
absolutely
spiritual support. You need people in your corner.
And the people we help may need individual support we can't give them.
Right.
And we've seen this before, where someone will take that on as a ministry that we
as
didn't
a
know.
byproduct of us at that initial conversation. That's the other side of things. That's kind of where we fell in. An organization is very powerful if they can network.
Yep.
Organizations of people together.
Absolutely.
Right?
100%.
And I'm not going to say organization, people. If that's why businesses do it, that's why you have Rotaries, that's why you have all this stuff, because a network is super important. You're only as good as your network. So building a network of individuals doing extremely good work and having a knowledge of who is actually a good person or a good organization, being able to somebody call and say, hey, we want to help with rebuilding house. We're not rebuilding houses.
Right.
We're not physically out there rebuilding houses. We're supplying goods for people that are rebuilding houses. We're supplying knowledge or networking or information. We're not doing the actual physical work. We ask them, what do you want to support? We could really use more sheetrock. We could really use more insulation because the people, that's something we're running low on to supply people rebuilding houses.
And that's been the lane that we've been in for so long, is supplying the goods, even delivering. We've been pretty successful at that. And that's, don't know if we should reveal that now, but we're going to invest a little bit more into the delivery of those. Yeah. That's been a pretty big need.
Oh, we can't. I mean, we're buying a box truck. So that we're able to efficiently deliver or allow people to use organizations to take their goods to the houses, because we figured out some people that are rebuilding houses only have a car.
Right.
They have the heart to do it, but they don't have the means to get the stuff to it.
And it solves the need right now.
Yeah.
And it's something that we're able to do.
Solves the need right now. We may buy the box truck. We may use it through this disaster, and it may not get used. We may sell it off.
Yep.
I mean, that's just the reality of...
And the thing about how we operate, we're both okay with that. If we sell it off, then we sell it off.
So that's kind of where it comes from. Who are we as an organization? We've talked about that, right? Yeah. Okay. Fun facts. This is all the same question. Fun facts about you guys.
That's the question? Like, what are some fun facts about you guys? About us? Okay, so I'll go. I've had every job you can imagine, except I was never a waiter.
I was never a waiter.
I was never a waiter, but I've had every other job. I've worked in TV. I've worked in construction. I'm a data analyst. I've been a financial advisor. I worked for Apple in tech support. I've done every job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I delivered pizza. It's just been my life. It's been interesting.
Fun facts. We got a family, got kids, got farm, got Highland cattle, fuzzy cows. Everybody loves those as fun facts.
There's one down here.
Yeah, that's why we have it on the set. Fun fact. That's why we have it.
Oh, you know what? Let's do this. Here.
Can we go to the 50?
Yeah, we can go to the 50. So how's that look?
Yeah.
So here's the Highland cattle. The reason this is here, or the Highland cow, not the cattle. The reason this is here is because we were, doing some decorating, and my wife saw this, and she was like, "We've got to get this Highland cow for the set." And I was like, "Oh, okay, we'll see if we do that." And so since then, we actually did the shoot out at Hens and Feet's thing. We brought this with us. I don't think he ever made it. I think he stayed in the truck the whole time because that was kind of a fluid situation. Yeah. But that's kind of a fun fact. That comes from your farm.
Right.
What's it called?
Tri-Point Farms.
Tri-Point Farms.
Yeah, we do like little weddings and stuff there.
Yeah. But the whole venue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool. So that's kind of that. The fun facts is we do that. I was a river guide on the river that washed out.
You got me.
Whenever I
was never
college.
A river guide either. Okay.
Yeah, I was a river guide. That was fun. I worked at Lowe's, which supplied a lot of the resources for.
That's true.
So,
I got another one for you. Fun fact. Ahead. I am not allowed back to the Dominican Republic.
Let's leave it there.
Okay. You want to leave it there or you want to tell a story?
No, let's not tell the story.
All right.
You may have to because you may be investigating.
Let's see what happens. It's been this is at the end of these we get fewer viewers.
If
somebody asks it, we'll dive into it.
Okay, same question with the fun fact. If you two had unlimited money, what would you do with it?
Who sent this one in? If we had unlimited money, absolutely unlimited.
Not organization. Let's just not even act like it's an organization, just about us, because it was fun facts.
It's like personally?
Personally.
So I've had this in my head for a long time. A ministry, a nonprofit, if you will, called Free Parking, where regular people, just come get money for whatever. I got a bill. I need a car. I need whatever. Doesn't matter. Like,
How does that work?
Like, so my thought process was that I would host a dinner event every year, and it would, you pay $1,000 for your dinner, and that funds the thing, and people can just apply for money, and if we have it, we give it to them. If I had unlimited money, that's what I'd do.
That's way better than mine.
Yeah.
I'm buying as much land as I possibly can. Bill Gates. I'm becoming Bill Gates.
What would I buy, or what would I do?
Do with it.
Because I think those are two different things. So like that's what I would do as like a purpose. What would I buy? Ibanez Pia Stallion white guitar, like right off the bat. I would buy a John Frusciante Stratocaster for sure. Like my guitar collection would grow significantly.
All the land I can and building my house I will GPS locate it dead center of that property. That's just, now organization, I think we can talk about that too. If the organization has much money, it's possible. I think that the reality of what we can do, the impact that we could make. This is what I always tell people what's so awesome about being a nonprofit organization. It is a business.
It is.
Right? High level, it's a business. You have to keep things afloat. You have to pay the bills. You have to pay the light bills.
Pay the bills. Paid some bills today.
You're right. It takes money.
Day. Yep.
The second part is the freedom that it comes to doing good.
Yeah.
Right?
You know what's funny? If we had unlimited money, we'd almost be doing the exact same things we're doing.
Yeah.
Just more of it, right? We'd fund smaller organizations. We'd make sure no church failed.
Well, it's
we'd plant churches.
Not this week, but the next, we've got a meeting with a pastor that says, hey, I want a church of plant, or plant a church of plant. I want to, that's agriculture.
It is agriculture. Yeah. I thought the same thing.
Yeah. Plant a church. Will you guys help me feed into me and kind of give me some guidance? We would do that and then give him money to plant his church.
If we had unlimited money, we'd buy him a building. Right off the bat. Here you go.
We would do studies and find out where the church is necessary and plant the church.
Yeah.
It's that, right? Like we would literally do what we're doing just on a grander scale.
Right.
We'd be able to, the ceiling's the limit.
Yeah.
We'd be able to go through the ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like right now the ceiling is our bank account.
Right.
We can only do what we have in budget.
Right.
Unlimited money, we could literally do what we're doing.
And we would too.
On a massive
If we had
scale.
Unlimited money.
Oh, it'd be unreal.
We are scaring our wives right now.
Oh, yeah.
They are terrified.
Like they're hoping that somebody does not come in and say, hey, I've got a large bank account.
Yeah.
Here it is. Because, you think about what the impact that we could have globally.
And I'd like to pat ourselves on the back. We're fast.
Yeah.
Like we've been told this before too, but we operate really quickly. Like we're able to move.
The reason why I've said this from the very beginning, stop making it complicated.
Right.
It's not hard.
Not hard.
It's really not hard. A person needs a bed.
Get them a bed.
You call around and you find a bed.
If we don't have one, we'll buy one.
We
had the
Christmas giveaway.
Yeah.
Right. One thing that we did, this was stupid on our parts. We had a Christmas toy giveaway where we allowed people to come in and just get toys free for their kids. We didn't have Christmas trees.
Didn't have Christmas trees.
For a Christmas toy giveaway.
Again, we didn't know everything.
We didn't know.
We're learning on the fly.
We didn't think about that. So what did we do? Made the decision right there. Hey, everybody, let's make a vote. We want to buy Christmas trees. Sent one of the volunteers to Lowe's to buy Christmas trees.
It cost us, for a minimal cost.
Right.
We made somebody's Christmas.
Right. Some kid had toys, new toys under a Christmas tree.
We had...
having the ability to do that immediately without thought is incredible.
We had a guitar got donated.
Yeah.
And they told me about it. Like, hey, we want to make sure this is useful. And I saw a kid who was 11, 12 years old playing on this guitar. Because he just picked it up and played it. And I was like, why don't you take that one home with you? And made his day. We also had from, I think I'm allowed to say Guitar Center. If not, they'll let us know.
Hey, Guitar Center sponsored a guitar.
They did. A patron at Guitar Center.
Okay.
So technically speaking, another patron who wants to remain anonymous, bought the kit from Guitar Center. And through the coordination, they were like, hey, we have this guitar. Are you guys a real nonprofit? We gave them our letter. Like, you have to also have your paperwork done. And And so we were able to secure that for a 9-year-old who lost everything.
Yeah. And it was not flood. It was a house fire.
Right. Again, filling the gaps is
Right.
what we do. And so I feel like that's with unlimited money, that times 1,000.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
We would go to Guitar Center and buy all the guitars and supply all the kids with guitars.
Yeah, anybody that,
right.
Whatever the need was.
Like we could teach kids music. I mean, think about the life-changing stuff that music can provide. So, yeah, that's cool. I got one more.
Okay. Let's do it.
One more and then we'll end it. Let me go to it here. Private. Do you think that having preparedness education is important?
I mean, the short answer is yes, but that is based on what we've seen the past 6 months, right?
Yeah.
This has not been.
That's basically what the question says.
Not been easy, right? Having the education, having the not even the training, yes, but even the community level awareness of it.
Well, see, and this is also the conversations I've had with the EMA directors or the directors of disaster with these larger organizations when we're setting meetings and having the preparedness might have been impossible. Simply for the fact it was a hurricane from Florida that came over the mountains and ran the river up and flash flooded. Now, could we have a plan and knocked out all the bridges and all the cell phones? I mean, perfect storm. And so, for instance, the same storm in this area was a flash flood.
Yep.
Up in the mountains, it basically created a bowl where the water filled the bottom up and came up. Totally different ways of handling a disaster.
That's right.
Could we have been prepared for rain or flood? Yes. Could we have been prepared for all the lack of communication, the bridges going out? Yes.
Right.
Could we have had more education on what happens if the power goes out, if you lose water?
That's where I think the biggest gap is going to be.
We couldn't necessarily have education on if this specific situation ever happens to you.
Right.
What do you do when your house no longer is on your property?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we saw this.
Here's the resources.
Yeah. We saw houses in the middle of the road, but basically a whole lot of people lost their house, had their house burned down. Just, fires happen too.
Yeah.
What if there's a big fire?
Like
that, absolutely. So we could help people realize what resources are available.
Yes.
Where to go. Our area, we didn't even have a facility for people who were affected by a disaster.
Yeah, we don't have
still
the homeless place. I mean, not homeless, but homeless, houseless.
Yeah.
At that point, didn't have a place for them to go stay.
Right.
So that we use the middle schools, which is normal.
We used the schools, which I thought was really smart to do.
Right.
But I don't think people knew that ahead of time.
Yeah, right. And I mean, you go to places who have hurricanes, they have plans.
Yeah.
When this area gets affected by a flood, this is what happens to a hurricane.
Right.
Well, I think that we could do more. And I think that what it is, I like how she put this, because empowering communities.
Oh, that's good.
Right.
Yeah.
Using the education that you can provide to empower the communities. Disaster preparedness, maybe not always, just preparedness and knowledge in general. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean that in the corporate world. If you're trying to climb the corporate ladder, having knowledge and having the ability to do something, using AI, having the knowledge on how to prompt AI is power. During a disaster, having knowledge. For instance, here locally in the town that we're in, not directly affected by the flood.
Yeah.
It was a surrounding county.
Yep.
Or surrounding area. The people in this community, this town, do not realize 2 miles down the road is a area food bank where they can go every single Thursday and get food. That is a lack of education and knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. Awareness.
Preparedness for
that kind of preparation. Right. That's what I feel like we need to get better at.
Yeah. I think that's where we could, not we as an organization, we as a community, as in a country, as in a world, can get really good at spreading those type of things, because the reality of it is people are going to struggle.
It's actually been an area that we've done a lot of work in too.
Yeah.
Trying to get the awareness out there that, and I've said this since the beginning, is that people drive by 10 resources to get to us. Well, why? the why is that they're unaware that it's there.
That resource is even existing.
And we even had to teach some of our volunteers and our people that, hey, refer them over. This person's, they're 10 miles away.
Well, here's the reality.
And 10 miles
right?
away,
like this is, it's a long-term fix.
Yes.
It's not a short-term fix.
Right.
They can drive by 10 churches that have food banks to get to our food bank.
Right.
Right. Or we can plug them to a church that's 2 seconds down the road.
2 seconds down
that
the
now
road.
is able to feed.
Absolutely.
Now, the other whole different topic, and we're not going to go there. The other problem is that if that church doesn't feed into the guy that's 2 seconds down the road, that's a church problem.
Right, that's a church problem. A whole different thing. Whole different thing.
But this is the way the system should work.
That's right.
The church that's planted in the community should help the people that's in their community.
Yeah.
Or the organization, maybe not church, but the organization or whatever might be there should be helping the people next door. Why drive by all those things to get to us?
Right.
It's not that we don't want to give you the food, or we'll give you the food. I mean, you drive to us, but the reality of it is,
you don't have to spend the gas, the time. You don't have to come all the way out of
it's
your
a
community
huge
to get
amount
to
of
us.
work.
You have it in your backyard.
Right.
Yeah.
We have to bring that awareness to the front.
Yep.
There's organizations that are doing things right now that has existed for years.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah.
I've lived here my whole life.
Yeah, that's true. That happened.
That's the reality.
But I mean, this goes all the way back to the beginning, that digital communication piece.
Yeah.
That's how we get the word out. It's something we're working on.
It
But
is.
I mean,
video. So we're
an
like,
issue.
one of the things too is like community awareness. We're not necessarily rebuilding houses. There's large organizations.
Yep.
Okay. The way this is the issue, there's issues with everything. Okay.
Issues
We're
with
not being
everything.
negative.
That's
there's,
fine.
There's just issues. Even the ones that are doing extremely good, there's something wrong for somebody.
Right.
Maybe it doesn't fit the right mold. So like there's an organization called Appalachian Service Project here.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Rebuilding homes in a matter of weeks. Entire houses.
Yeah.
They've got like 2 or 3 house plans that they build. Very small. Okay. Somebody that lost their house that has 5 kids
Yeah.
cannot have that house. You got Habitat for Humanity, which is another large organization. They can build larger houses. See, that Appalachian Service Project
Right.
piece wasn't the right fit for that family.
Right.
We have to make sure that they're plugged in. So getting that information to other organizations so they know the full picture. Samaritan's Purse was here.
Yep.
Okay. Large organization, amazing organization. We had a community meeting that we held, and had other organizations come in, and Samaritan's Purse was like, yeah, hey, it's really easy. We'll give you money.
Yeah.
And they were like,
They
what?
were-
We didn't even know this was existed, and it had like 4 weeks before that quit.
Yeah.
Spreading that knowledge is so, as a byproduct, and I'm not taking credit for any of that. I don't know how much money from that one meeting Samaritan's Purse gave out.
It must have been a lot. I mean,
It was a lot.
they met a lot of people
Right.
who had a lot of needs.
And it wasn't the fact that we gave the knowledge to the community. We gave the knowledge to the churches, to the
Yes.
leaders of organizations
Right.
who were already working in that community.
Right.
We didn't. So I've always said this.
Spread roots, right?
So if you have 2,000 people, 10% of 2,000
Yeah.
is,
200.
right? So if you are able to give information to 200 that reaches 2,000, that is much simpler
Yep.
than trying to reach 2,000. We don't need our name out there.
Right.
Like we don't need people to know where that information. We just need to know that the information is reaching the people.
Right.
It is a very complicated system.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it is, but it's not hard.
Right. It's, what do they say, that it's easy, but it's not simple.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
right.
easy, but it's not simple.
Yeah, it's as fast as
Yeah.
making a phone call and saying, hey, for instance, 20 people come in to work,
Yeah.
right? Empowering communities. 20 people come in to work, 30 people actually come in from college work. Hey, we need places to go. Okay, they said, we've worked for 2 weeks, can't find people. Pick the phone up,
Right.
call them all
Called
in
around.
a conference call, right, with the dude on the phone. In a matter of about 20 minutes, they had all the places to work.
Very cool. Yeah.
Right? Super simple.
And that wasn't that long ago either, that those volunteers
that's-
came. So people still want to come and help.
3 or 4 weeks,
Yeah.
and that's what's happening. Larger groups are coming. But if it wasn't for those networking meetings that
Right.
we were holding, we wouldn't have known all the people just to pick up a phone call.
Right. And these are some of the gaps that we're working to fill too. It's
Yeah.
the communication, it's networking, it's knowing where to go. It's that empowering communities piece. I mean, all this, it's all good stuff too.
It
It's
is.
good
So these are great questions. If y'all want to send more, just go on the website, fill out a form, send us some stuff. We'll answer them the next time we do this.
No, this would be very cool.
Yeah.
We should do this like once a month.
Okay,
Every fourth? What do you think?
cool.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
it.
I'm game. Fluid.
I like it.
It
Fluid.
might be 2. It might be 3.
We'll probably change that soon enough. won't we?
Yeah, don't bet.
Yeah,
Don't put that on the
no,
calendars.
no.
So that's really it. So thank you all for supplying these questions and asking this. And hey, can you pray us out? Do
Absolutely.
you care?
Absolutely. Father God, we just want to thank you so much for the time that we get, the opportunity we have to do this, to participate in the mission, to communicate with everybody, just to hang out and have a podcast that reaches so many people. We want to pray for those that have been affected by the flood. We want to pray for those who weren't affected by the flood, but who helped out. And even for those who, from a distance, were able to pray and offer their support to us. And, of course, all the donors, Father, we just appreciate every ounce of support we've gotten. I just ask for your blessings upon us as a mission, upon us as a country, us as a community, that you just send us in the right direction with the plan that you have for our lives, Lord. We always know that your plan is better than our plan, and it doesn't always look like it from the beginning, but your hand is on everything, and we just want to fully submit to you and your principles and your guiding life, Father. Just in Jesus' name we want to pray. Amen.
Amen. Great job. Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.